Thank you, Minister Chan, sir. Indeed, this bright green spark, ladies and gentlemen, is proud to have all of you with us. As Minister Chan has mentioned, this is a testimony that we are going forward. This is a first for Singapore. It's great for the mice industry, and of course, it's great for Singapore and the world as well. Let's celebrate this one more time with a big round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Very happy to see all of you here with us. We will now like to invite our first keynote speaker, the Honourable Angus Taylor MP, Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction Australia, to deliver his keynote address. Here it is.
Hello, and thank you to Minister Chan Chung Sing for the opportunity to address you at the 13th Singapore International Energy Week. Singapore is a very important strategic partner for Australia. In addition to our shared economic, trade and security interests, we share a commitment to addressing the global challenge of climate change. We know that advancing the next generation of low emissions technologies is crucial to achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement. Technological progress is the only way to reduce emissions while continuing to grow our economies and maintain a reliable and secure energy supply. And realising these goals will require widespread international cooperation. We'll need to work with the private sector, research institutions and international partners. And so I'm particularly pleased this morning to have signed a Memorandum of Understanding to advance cooperation between Australia and Singapore on technology solutions. It's been a pleasure working with Minister for Trade and Industry, Chan Chung Sing, on this agreement. Australia and Singapore already work together on a range of low emissions technology partnerships. This MOU will take that cooperation further. It affirms our shared ambition to drive down the cost of the technologies needed to enable global climate action, while lowering emissions and keeping our economies strong. We're expanding our commitment to work together on hydrogen, renewable electricity, carbon capture utilisation and storage, and other low emissions technologies. Practically, this will include work to develop hydrogen supply chains and manage energy grid reliability, to name just two examples. We'll also work together to support each other and countries in our region to measure and report national emissions. Australia has recently taken a very significant step forward in our efforts to reduce emissions through technology. We've developed a national technology investment roadmap to guide an expected $18 billion of Australian government investment in low emissions technologies over the next 10 years. We're aiming to leverage at least a 3 times multiplier on that investment, crowding in co-investment from other levels of government, research institutions and the private sector. Together, we hope to realise at least $70 billion of new investment over the next decade. We've set stretch targets for 5 priority technologies: clean hydrogen, electricity storage, low emission steel and aluminium production, carbon capture and storage, and finally, soil carbon. Now, those goals are set at the point at which these technologies will become cost competitive with higher emitting alternatives. Australia's experience has been that when new technologies become economically competitive, households and businesses rapidly adopt them. We're seeing that firsthand with renewables right now. On an energy-only basis, costs have fallen rapidly, and we're seeing $30 billion investment in renewable energy since 2017. Australia is now deploying new renewable energy 10 times faster per capita than the global average and 4 times faster per capita than Europe, China, Japan or the US. About 2 million, or 1 in 4 Australian households, now have solar panels. In 2019, the share of wind and solar in Australia's electricity grid was more than double the global average and projected to rise rapidly in coming years. Of course, this brings new challenges. We need more flexible backup generation and storage, gas, pumped hydro and batteries to balance and integrate high shares of renewable energy. That's why our technology-focused approach is so practical. By focusing on getting the costs of new technologies down, we won't raise the costs of incumbent technologies like coal and gas that continue to play an important role in our energy mix. Our practical approach won't undermine energy affordability or reliability as we recover from COVID-19. And as one of the world's largest energy exporters, we'll continue to support our partners like Singapore with the abundant, affordable energy their economies rely on. Getting new technologies like hydrogen, carbon capture and battery energy storage down to a point where they are cost competitive will significantly reduce emissions at home and abroad. Our 5 priority technologies have potential to significantly reduce emissions from energy, transport, agriculture and industry. These sectors make up around 90% of global emissions and emit 45 billion tonnes annually. Our ambition is to be a global leader in low emissions technology solutions. Our plan is based on balance and outcomes. It's a plan that will bring the world with us, creating jobs and supporting future prosperity. Singapore International Energy Week is a great platform to share solutions around our region and globally. It's this practical approach that Australia so strongly supports. Thank you again, and I wish you all the best for this, the 13th edition of International Energy Week.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And yes, he can hear your applause. Let's give him a round of applause, shall we? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now with pleasure that I invite up on stage Dr. Jochen Eickholt, member of the Executive Board Siemens Energy AG, this time to deliver his welcome address. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I hope it can be heard. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are at crossroads. 2020 has been one of a kind as a tumultuous year, a historic moment, if you wish, and also spanning the entire globe. The implications of COVID-19 have been severe. Some parts of the world are still struggling, and some parts certainly more than others. Singapore, in my view, really is a shining example for its response to COVID. Here in Singapore, you've been acting swiftly, and you've been also very successful at various fronts. Your measures have been determined, steadfast, and consistent. The government's policies not only serve as a blueprint on how to handle the pandemic, they're also a testament to the agile mindset we need to confront the global challenges. Singapore, in our view, in my view, really is a blueprint for a successful approach towards the transformation of energy systems. Siemens Energy, as such, is a new company. We are a spin-off of Siemens. We are committed to seize the moment that is 2020. We are now almost 4 weeks old as a stock-listed company. 1 month ago, we went public. We're now listed as an independent company at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. And as you see, some of us were extremely happy, but certainly all of us, 91,000 people across the globe, were working really hard to make the listing possible. And as an energy technology company, there is no better time for us to enter the stage as a pure play than today, in our view. With our presence in 90 countries, we would like to make focus onto our customers, onto our markets, and we are really in pursuit of a clear path towards decarbonization. Already today, perhaps this is known to many of you, 16% of all the electricity generated worldwide is based on our technology, and we have the portfolio to do even more in this area. We offer products, solutions, and services throughout the entire energy value chain, from generation to industrial applications, from transmission to renewable energy, and also to power to X, including hydrogen solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 really is an inflection point. We should embrace the new normal, a new normal that taps into the transformational power of digitalization. We should accelerate the energy transition instead of thinking about the past and perhaps falling back. Siemens Energy partners in more than half of Singapore's power generation infrastructure, and in a difficult period together, I think it's fair to say we've kept the lights on. We've worked together, and we are looking forward to also master the 2020 year. We should be able to do more than merely bounce back from the implications of COVID. In our view, Singapore, but also Asia Pacific, and also Siemens Energy should use the time to bounce forward. I should even argue we have no choice but to bounce forward because the challenges of the energy transition really require concrete solutions. We need to make tomorrow different starting today. On a global level, and this is perhaps known to many, on a global level, the energy demand continues to grow, and also for electrical power. We are looking to an increase of 25 to 30% up to 2040. The projection of Southeast Asia is even higher. 60% of the overall demand growth by 2040 is something which is foreseen. In addition to the growth of demand, there's a shift in the structure of demand, and some of the elements were also mentioned with the Excellency speeches before. Although coal will remain a significant fuel in parts of Asia and elsewhere, the role of fossils is declining, offset by an increasing share of renewable energy and a growing role for electricity. As the energy systems decarbonize, hydrogen will inevitably become the center of attention. Asia Pacific is crucially important for Siemens Energy because it's the fastest growing and at the same time the fastest transforming energy market in the world. From our perspective, around 20% of our revenues come from this region, but we certainly are committed to enlarging our business here, and that includes also innovative solutions to the supply chain. With pleasure, I heard about the accentuated role of additive manufacturing, sometimes also called 3D printing. This is, I believe, really something which can help us to leapfrog some of the difficulties. Singapore, for us, is really a partner, but also it certainly is a leader in the region. Our relationship with Singapore is one of the most valued we have. We are now here for 115 years. In our view, the partnership is still excellent. It's not rusty at all. In fact, the opposite is true. Singapore is the region's innovative hub, and is one of the global leaders of transformation in the energy system. Your energy story, the Deep Green Spark, reflects also our view to some extent. Natural gas, regional power grids, hydrogen, we look forward to actually expanding the partnership because we know Singapore thinks big. To connect a giant solar farm from neighboring countries to Singapore is an incredible example for ingenuity in the way of how we defined that term. And for us, it's really a sign of future-oriented and future thinking. The approach, in line with Singapore's plan for the second and third switch in its transformation journey, shows how Singapore is planning for the energy transition and how that already is working and going ahead and progressing. Particularly pleased I am with the partnership with STE here. Together we are bringing power to islands on a boat. Together we are bringing the sea float power plants into place, which can be moved to any site accessible on the sea or on rivers. So really flexible in a way. Starting in spring 21, Estrella de Mar 3 will supply power with a capacity of 145 megawatts to the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean. And together we are really building a hybrid power plant solution with integrated battery storage. We are combining state-of-the-art combined cycle power plant technology with the mobility and flexibility required by the current, but certainly also by the future energy market. Speaking of this future energy market, our ability to couple various economic sectors with renewable energy, from developed industry to mobility, will be crucial for achieving the decarbonization targets. And as part of our so-called new energy business, we are really dedicated to Power-to-X solutions and green hydrogen, and would be really forward-looking to perhaps intensify the partnership even more. And our hope is that this is the same with Singapore as such. This is why I'd look forward to exploring our shared visions and goals, because we are really convinced that Singapore and Siemens Energy can be one of the most strong alliances in the future. The Asia-Pacific region offers a whole range of exciting opportunities for our partnership. We are contributing to Thailand's greener energy supply with a 98 megawatt combined cycle power plant. In Indonesia, we're at the forefront of increasing the efficiency of existing power plants because we believe that a meaningful approach to decarbonization of the energy systems really starts with the realities of what we have on the ground. Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy, where we, as Siemens Energy, hold 2/3, 67% stake, has been establishing a strong foothold in Taiwan. In 2016, Taiwan's first 2 offshore turbines were set up. And last year, Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy signed a lease contract with Taiwan International Ports Corporation to build an offshore wind power nacelle assembly. So assembly offshore to support current and future regional projects. In South Korea, we've launched our last gas turbines in the so-called HL class, the very big ones. That means we are about to set up a high-efficiency power plant for the new combined cycle approach there. A power plant that runs on LNG and offers a generating capacity of more than 1 gigawatt, at the same time an efficiency substantially higher than 63%. And we are bringing also large gas turbines to China, where we will supply a set of H-class gas turbines to UGTC. Siemens Energy, we find ourselves on a decarbonization journey, pretty much in the sense which was described before. We are tapping into the growing Asian market because we are committed to a more sustainable energy world, but of course we also think we can really play a substantial role here. Our approach is to decarbonize one step at a time. Decarbonization is something which really is across everything what we are doing. We have pledged to become climate neutral in our own operations by 2030. And by 2023, we will only use energy from renewable sources. And in partnering with our customers, our individual decarbonization journey, in that one, we will be moving consistently in that direction. Improving efficiency on the existing energy assets, though, we still feel is one of the biggest priorities. Transitioning away from conventional fuels then comes next, and sometimes this is happening in an overlaying mode, and there's also a combination to that. And of course, in the end of the day, sector coupling, Power-to-X solutions, and green hydrogen based on the PEM electrolysis will open the gate to further steps. In this context, perhaps it's relevant to look at the government politics, which need to be looked at. The policies need to be put in place. We all need to take part in this journey. Achieving carbon neutrality is really the task of all stakeholders. Policymakers have provided the necessary framework agreements, the Paris Agreement, if I look at it globally, the Paris Agreement, the EU Green Deal, the Singapore Climate Action Plan, or China 2060. These are encouraging signs. But, of course, implementation is key. While corporations operate across borders, we are bound to the various regulations of states at the national level. So in that sense, we need policymakers to pave the way, and we need an international level playing field. We want to replace fossil primary energy with renewable energy, and government policies need to incentivize competitiveness and investments in environmentally friendly and safe technologies. To reach decarbonization goals, policymakers need to strike balance between the climate objective and technological openness. Deregulation in certain areas can free up the kind of ideas and resources we may rely on in the future. We need to make sure that we actually see feasible and perhaps even ideal conditions as far as possible. Just think of the huge potential of sector coupling. Think of clean hydrogen and the missing link for sector integration. Of course, the shift to a deeply decarbonized world won't happen overnight. So that is why we believe we also need to have the courage to support really interim solutions. But I'm confident that we will get there rather sooner than later. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in our view, really, the future is here. 2020, with all the difficulties we're currently facing, should be seen as the year in which we all bounce forward, politics, business, and society at large. We at Siemens Energy look forward to working with the customers, the driving forces of substantial change, the indispensable partners in the ecosystem, and we would really like to also step ahead looking at co-creation of new solutions. And we look to Singapore, the leading decarbonization force here in Asia Pacific. You, here in Singapore, you do inspire us, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. So let's make tomorrow different today. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly, Dr. Eickholt. May I invite you to take a seat right here, sir, for a further conversation. Thank you for those kind words about Singapore as well. We'd like to invite now Mr. Valentin de Miguel, Senior Managing Director and Strategy and Consulting Lead, Growth Markets Essentia, Singapore, to moderate this conversation, this panel with Dr. Eickholt. Thank you for joining us here. Let's give him a welcome as well with a round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Johan, for the fantastic presentation. And congratulations for the birth of the new baby born that leverages on the more than 100 years experience. And let me just share a few questions that are popping up in the minds, I guess, of everyone. Could you please help us understand what's Siemens Energy's role in the low-carbon energy transition?
Well, we understand ourselves as really the partner on the decarbonization journey every partner has chosen. So we believe there is no single way forward. The starting points for each and every partner are different. What we typically find is that partners have defined their way forward, or sometimes they're also contemplating on developing that way forward. We would like to make sure that we are understood as the partner where we can look at existing assets, look at the future scenarios, and then help with the transition, including everybody who's available on that ecosystem. So there is no single way in that sense. It's more important for us that really the individual constraints are being looked at, and we, coming from there, really development the best way forward. Even in places like Southeast Asia, the situation from our perspective in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, or in Singapore are completely different. So there is no single way forward.
No, brilliant, thank you. And if we can move on to innovation now, how does the recent spin-off of Siemens Energy support driving energy innovation specifically?
Well, in our view, I think it will help us to actually speed up. We now are a pure play. That means we will be much more focusing onto the needs of our journey, if you wish. And that means that in the fields of developing turbines with much higher content of hydrogen as a fuel, that the innovation around hydrogen generation in the sense of electrolysis, the development of storage solutions, the combination of those, the development of intelligent transmission systems, more active, and also designed for faster balancing the situation in grids. Those developments will be carried out way faster, I would reckon.
Thank you. I'm looking at the questions coming from the audience, and there seems to be a great deal of interest about Siemens' plans on hydrogen, whether that relates to hydrogen power plant, business plans, global hydrogen supply chain. But in the context of the broader game changers, what, in your view, are the game changers that will enable the transition to a more sustainable energy future?
Yeah, a very good question. I guess hydrogen really is in the minds of everyone now. Hydrogen, I think, really will play a central role in the future energy systems. However, when we look at what's really needed in order to have hydrogen playing a substantial role as a fuel, for instance, or in some other roles also in the energy systems, probably the quantity of available hydrogen needs to be 104 or 200 times as much as what we have today. So we need to look at further production facilities. We need to make sure that the whole infrastructure is set up the right way. Even the transportation issues around hydrogen have to be answered. So pipeline systems, for instance, in some parts of the world are in discussion. So that needs to be looked at. I think, economically speaking, the price of generated hydrogen needs to come down by a factor of 4 to 5. And frankly speaking, we are about to set up facilities to help us move in that direction. So yes, the price has to come down. Hydrogen has to become more and more available. Transportation issues have to be solved. And then I believe it really will find its way in a sustainable green energy system.
Brilliant. And, you already touched upon policy making and the need for all stakeholders to get involved in the energy transition. But how can governments, industries, and even the public come together to collaboratively create this low-carbon future, in your view?
Depending a little bit on this, on the state of a technology, I think pilot projects really could be of help. In the very first place, perhaps, these pilot projects don't have to be fully economically viable. It's a little bit more about process and project development, if you wish. But I think the second generation of these projects then already will become economically viable. So I think in the very beginning, there needs to be a cooperation between research, between politics, and potentially also and also as a partner players like us, who then can come together, develop the technologies, and make sure that the scaling up of the technology can happen swiftly.
Thank you. Let me pick another question from the audience. Minister already commented about regional grid and the plans that are being laid out in that space. Question from the audience is, does Siemens see itself playing a role in ASEAN's plans for regional grid connectivity and energy transition?
Regional?
On regional grid connectivity.
Yes, we offer all kinds of transmission technologies. So on top of that, we partner. I mean, Siemens is a little bit of a complex setup also in the future. So we still partner also with the rest of Siemens for various let's say, low voltage solutions, but in principle we will have rather regional or rather domestic grids, as well as mid and long distance energy transmission. For all of those, we offer leading technologies, and also here in Singapore, we have some plans, and also some projects are right now in execution.
Thank you. Lots of questions coming in about hydrogen specifically. So let me take another one. How would you suggest that we can bring green hydrogen ecosystem to make it viable alternative to other types of low carbon energies? So can we create this hydrogen ecosystem?
I think we can. Hydrogen so far is not really at a mass market stage. Hydrogen so far, from the various elements which are needed for the hydrogen system, are in development. So I think right now we're in the phase of really a process development, a technology development. This phase, I would reckon, will require some further 3 to 4 years. And in this phase, I think really the cooperation of all relevant stakeholders is needed to drive that forward. I think then in the next phase, we really can scale up. Hydrogen generation in many parts of the world is thought of as something we follow with a system size in the range of up to 100 megawatt right now. I think when it comes to economic use of that, we probably need to think of systems in the range of 1 gigawatt or more. So that I would view as being then the coming generation of those systems. So right now I believe, and this is only something I can try to make it most attractive. Right now we really need to have the technology development supported and made faster wherever that is possible.
Lovely. Thanks very much for your enlightening words. It's been very helpful. Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that discussion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to mention that you would notice on your agenda, we had planned one of our keynote speakers, Her Excellency Dr. Mary Pangestu from the World Bank. She unfortunately cannot be with us today, and she shares her apologies with us, right? With that, we will take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to that end of a SIEW opening keynote. Do share your feedback, as I've mentioned at the very beginning of the day. Share your feedback with us. This is, of course, our first hybrid, so we'd like to hear your thoughts on the virtual platform or via, of course, the SIEW app. Now, the Singapore Energy Summit, you may like to know, it is on your agenda. It will be on at 11 a.m. Time check right now, just a little bit off 10:30. We're in good time. So at 11 a.m., we'll have the Singapore Energy Summit. Now, for our online viewers will be joining us for that summit. Please join us for the next session. All you have to do is to click session 1's live stream link. I'll say that again. For those of you who are seeing me from the virtual world, click on the session 1's live stream link. We will see you all very soon. Thank you.